Hey, 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 filmmakers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Blackmagic Collective's final event of the year. And my hope is that next year when we see you, we'll be in person, saying hello, bumping elbows. That's a new shaking hands, right? Bumping elbows. Sounds really stupid. Anyway, welcome. We have a fun panel for you today. It is basically a recap of the last year filming around the country, what it was like, what we're looking forward to in the new year, and answering all of your questions along the way. So please put your questions in the comment box because we want all of them. We need them. We need to know that you're here. We need to know what you want to hear. We need to, whatever, you got it. So for those of you who are new, this is the Blackmagic Collective. We're a collective of film and TV artists, both behind and in front of the camera. We have classes, initiatives, events, film festivals. Like we have all kinds of stuff, all based on trying to help you level up your work, meet people, and get seen. We just had our Blackmagic Collective Film Festival just ended. The grand prize winner won an Ursa 2K camera. 2.5 Ursa G2. Thank you. I'll just get the words out. It's like vacation brain. It's fine. I'll be fine. They won $1,000 in cash. They won Sigma lens. They won all kinds of stuff, as well as did the second place, third place, and audience winner. So make sure next year you get your 5-minute or less films put in. It's completely free to submit. It's free to attend. It's free to all the stuff. So you can win stuff and be seen and, all the good stuff. Thank you to our sponsor, Blackmagic Design. You have once again gotten us through another year and kept us afloat. So thank you so much for caring about filmmakers and helping us give away all this fun stuff, which, by the way, those of you watching at the end, we're going to pick an audience member randomly to win a seat of DaVinci Resolve Studio. So you got that coming your way. A reminder to put your questions in the comment box right there on Facebook or YouTube, and we will answer them along the way. I am Jenn Page. I am the executive director of Blackmagic Collective. I am also a filmmaker. I actually, behind me is Playing with Beethoven. My film is coming out this Friday in theaters and on demand. I couldn't move it. It's too big. It looks like a fake background, but it's actually a really big background. So I'm stuck with it. And basically, as much as I filmed in my career, I haven't filmed much during the pandemic, even though I have filmed. So I'm really glad to have all these other filmmakers with me who have been filming all year to really jump in and talk about what it's been like and how they've been dealing. Okay, let's get into it. So, and if you are here, please let us know where you're from, what you do in the biz, because we want to know who's watching and shout you out and say hello. Okay, coming to us from, I have a special guest before I get to our panelists. I forgot. I have the one and only, normally she's behind the scenes with these, working with John Prento behind the scenes on these, but many of you, especially if you've been at all emailing or involved in Blackmagic Collective, you know the name, Kayla Marie Coates. She's also she runs the Emerging Actors Initiative. She's also in that initiative. She's an actor and a filmmaker, and here she is. Hey.
Hello. Hello. How is everyone? Well, everyone. Rhetorical, I guess. Yes.
Well, no. Hello. How are they? They can write in the box.
Yes, please tell us.
We also have from Atlanta, rep in Atlanta. We have Ebony Blanding, who's in the what is the initiative called now?
Future Directors of Studio Features.
Thank you. Hey. Kate, who runs that program, hates me for ever naming it what it did, and now I hate myself because I can never remember what it's called. But it's a really cool initiative because they're all about getting their first feature film made and or getting hired by the studio system to get their feature film made or getting hired at all to make feature films. And Ebony just did her big baby film. I call it a baby film, meaning it was her baby, not.
Yeah.
Y'all, you should not have me doing events like the day before a holiday. It's not working.
Why did we plan it this way?
We also, coming from New York, repping New York, we have Tanya Perez. Tanya, and we have, I'm just going to keep going before I screw everybody's things up. From New England, we have Alecia Orsini, which I probably said Alecia, and you actually go by Alecia, don't you?
No, I'm Alecia. You did it.
Okay, I did do it right. Great. And finally, we have Maurice Moore, repping Austin. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's weird because I want to look at your faces here, but my camera's up here. And so for those of you watching, if you're wondering why I keep looking down, it's because I want to see their pretty faces. Welcome you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Audience, again, once you're here, put comments in the comment box. Let us know where you're from, what you do, and if you have questions along the way. Okay, all of that said, let's just start with, hi. Let's talk about your past year. I know a lot of you have filmed a bunch of projects, so maybe just talk to us about one project, how it kind of went, how you dealt with COVID, and where you're at with that project. Can we start with you, Ebony?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I directed my baby film this year. It is a short film and proof of concept called Jordan. It is starring a young tween protagonist who is from Atlanta as well. It was super dope filming it. I filmed it with the homies, everyone who I love and respect in Atlanta who I work with, and I finally had like some actual money to work with, so that made it even more fun. And everyone was excited to come out because of the whole pandemic going on, and they were not working on their bigger projects. So to be able to still be able to play, if you will, and engage in a safe way about something that everyone believed in, obviously, because they were there, was super affirming. And I think it fed all of us. Everyone, when we finished the shoot, they were like, we feel so fed. We don't feel alone. And I think that was one of the major things during the pandemic, is not feeling alone.
I love it. Maurice, what have you been up to this past year? We talked to you at the beginning of the year, so it'll be interesting now to talk to you at the end of the year.
Yes, it's really interesting. I'm excited to be here. So thank you guys for coming and all these fantastic filmmakers. So I appreciate it. But I'm gonna tell this one really quick. But from beginning of the year to the end of the year, what happened with COVID is really interesting to me. So I was in the process of shooting a feature film that was finance funded that I wrote and get ready to direct called The Place She Dwells, psychological thriller. The day before the borders closed. And the reason why that's important is my filmmaking partner, Alex Rios, flew over from Barcelona, Spain, the day that the borders closed, got here that day. When the borders closed, I was having the final reading with the cast and the crew to shoot a week later. An hour after the reading, we canceled the shoot.
Oh my God.
Right? COVID showed up, we canceled the shoot. Didn't shoot for a year. My friend Alex Rios was stuck at my home for 2 months, couldn't go back to Barcelona.
Oh my God. So it sucks for him, but also now you're stuck with somebody living in your house.
Absolutely. And that was new for everybody, especially someone from Barcelona living with me. So we were going a little stir crazy. I mapped out every single shot of the feature film. So the film was ready to be shot before he showed up, and it was really ready to be shot 2 months later. So we were going stir crazy. So I said, we got to do some work. And so I challenged him and myself to create a short film that we could create, right, and produce at my home during that time. So the next day we came back with 5 different ideas, picked an idea called Deja Vu, where we shot a film in 7 days at my home that is a quarantine movie called Deja Vu, which is now getting ready to do the festival circuit.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Great.
Wow.
I love that you did it.
6 months later in March, we're still going stir crazy. We were starting to come out of the pandemic. We were able to get the vaccinations. Protocol had started to go through, and I said, we got to go to work. I still had financing for the feature I was supposed to shoot in March, and we shot the feature during COVID in protocol in 15 days during the whole new, everybody's learning how to deal with COVID coming out of the pandemic. And so now that film is in post-production, and so we're working. I shot a few other films in between, but that story of how Deja Vu got started and going back to shoot the psychological thriller, The Place She Dwells, which I just cut the new trailer for, I'm very excited about, because COVID wreaked havoc in all of our worlds, but certainly during that process for me.
I love that you guys have all found ways to be creative. And I do want to go back after we get through everybody and talk to everybody about how things to consider with new protocols and time and all that stuff. Alecia, what you said you literally wrapping a truck on your way to this interview.
We wrapped up. We did our last shots yesterday, and we cleaned out the PO this morning. So yeah, so I'll go backwards. So I just finished a film called Crooked Finger, which is an ultra low budget horror that we shot in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. And then I was the line producer on that one. And then as that one started, I was ending another project where I was the UPM on another horror film that was shot up in Concord, Mass. So that brings us backwards all the way. I started working on that film in August. And then I did a couple of small projects in between, but I did my own project that I was directing back in March called Late Fall. Film, and I've finally come back to editing that project with our team. And the COVID protocol has gone up and down, but it's okay. Listen, I don't recommend going from UPM to line producer back to back. but it's crazy. And then we're here, and then I'm also the president of Women in Film New England, so we're getting ready for our big wrap party, which is our annual meeting on December 1st. So we're like, so I want.
Are you guys going to do that in person, or are you going to do it online?
We're doing it in person. We're going to be back in person at GBH Studios. There's the big PBS studios up here in New England. And one quick tip I want to throw out there to everybody: we would not have been able to make these last 2 feature films without Project Indie Hope. And I don't know if you've heard of Project Indie Hope, but they made COVID testing affordable for us.
Oh, nice.
And they provided the nurses to come do the testing themselves. So we hired the CCOs and the PAs, and they provided the nursing and the testing, and it was a lifesaver. And you should go check out Charlie Phoenix and her group at Project Indie Hope.
That's a great tip. Write that down. Love it. And Tanya, in New York, talk to us.
I know, in New York. However, I spent majority of the pandemic in Florida with my parents. So I was creating in a room, in my a childhood room, and I was doing a lot of online projects, a lot of I'm by myself doing comedy with an iPhone. And my parents would hear me doing something why are you always screaming? But I finally, this fall, a project that kept getting pushed back called 1%. I came on as producer, and I'm also acting in it. And it was a target. It was we don't know. We were filming in Miami. So we had originally, I think it was back in February, where we're going to oh, it's going to be fine. It's not fine. Oh, it's the summer. It's not. So we set a date and stuck to it. And it was my first time on set. And I was I felt like I could breathe. I was wow, this is exciting. And it, we were sticklers for protocols. We were you know what, we're going to go above and beyond. And the whole team came in and was just we're just going to say yes. We're going to be taking care of ourselves, and we're going to act the hell out of this film. And I was just oh, this makes me feel like I can do this. I can do this in a, on the East Coast. So it's been surreal this whole time.
Yeah. And Kayla, you filmed some stuff on the actor side. You had some shoots this year.
Yeah, I've done several indie shoots, mainly non-union stuff, and that's been. Oh, there have been some great times, some interesting times, especially with COVID, but mostly all fun. I don't have any wild, gnarly stories, but yeah, all of the small projects that I've been a part of, obviously the process has been different with masks and having to keep them on just until we say, all right, action, take them off. That's very interesting and different than we've been doing, but if it keeps people safe, that's what we got to do,
I can imagine makeup artists are just in the worst position right now because they're just constantly having to fix this area. If you're a sweater or if you have to wear makeup, I'm lipstick. And, Maurice, so when you were doing your feature, your most recent thing, how much did you allot extra time for protocol stuff, for knowing that the masking and people hearing each other would be tougher? How did you deal with it?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it wasn't just me. My crew, my team is just fantastic. And the Motivate Pictures team is fantastic because they, not only are they producers on the film, but they all came in and they were doing AD and line producing work. And so everybody was chipping in. That way we can keep the team smaller by keeping the Motivate Pictures team involved. And my AD, Heather Holstead, who's a terrific filmmaker herself, she was on it. She didn't let anybody slide, including me. I took a photograph one time and I pulled my mask down, and the next day she said, "Can we talk?" And I never had my mask down again after that. And so
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we did that. We made sure that was the case. We took extra time. We got to set early. We tried to keep our windows of when we were, the 10 to 12 hour shooting days that we had. We tried to keep our days really, really tight because we didn't want people to get fatigued, which is also easy for people to get sick because of fatigue. So we're trying to be really smart about the entire thing. We were taking the breaks that we needed. We had the spacing. We were able to shoot. Most of the film took place inside. So every time we get a chance to get outside of the home, because it was always shot in one home on different levels, we were using that spacing. But it was unique. It was interesting. It was challenging, and at the same time, I have to be really honest. Everybody really took it in stride. One, I think everybody was just excited to get back to work. I mean, it was really important to me to say we got to go back to work. Like we have the financing, we have the project, and we're just kind of meeting every day via Zoom. And people were tired of meeting. It's like we got to make something. And I think people were so excited to get back to work that everybody was open to whatever we needed to do. And it felt good. It felt good to work during that time that we have taken off and we couldn't do anything. It felt really great. So what we came out with product wise, I'm glad we didn't shoot it a year ago, because I think it's a better film now than it would have been if we'd have shot it when COVID first happened.
That's interesting you say that. And I actually kind of like hearing that, because I had my two biggest features ever, like over $1 million features I would be directing, were funded and ready to go before COVID. And literally, like, we were about to go, start prep and all that, and COVID hit, and the funders lost their money, like in the stock market, and we lost our funding. And like, it was one of those, like, it was like a devastating blow, like my biggest film, and like a film I had been working hard to, like, on with the producers. But I do think now I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that I've done. There's a different headspace I'm in. I do think some of us have, with the space, it almost gave us a space to think and breathe, so we can come back with renewed energy. So I'm glad that you said that, because it just reinforces what I was thinking, was that I think we're going to have a better movie now. Alecia, from your line producer stuff, what are the things, I promise audience, we won't only talk COVID. It's just, it's such an important thing right now that we understand how to keep working. From your UPM line producer standpoint, what are the things that filmmakers need to be thinking about as they start to go into prep, as they're thinking about their budgets, all that stuff, as far as COVID goes?
As far as COVID, it's getting ahead of some things. Like, we found that we had bought tests ahead of time, some rapid tests to have on hand, and there was a shortage that happened about midway through our first feature. So we were very lucky that we got ahead of that curve. Even just finding PPE and those other things, and finding what works. On our particular sets, we had decided that it was going to be mandated that people that worked with us had to be vaccinated. So that was something we decided collectively. So then just doing that processing, the vaccination, SAG requires you to test 3 times a week. We decided, since we had Project Indie Hope, we tested every day. So when we did end up with a COVID outbreak, and we had one, and it was one extra came one day and had Delta. So it meant that we were only down for a short amount of time, because I was able to clear the rest of the crew sooner. So it's about kind of knowing about this rhythm of your testing, and understanding that when you do bring other people in from the outside, for the most part, we were bubbled. But just having that testing available all the time. And then, thinking about the time it takes to test 60 people in the morning, and when, from a line producer standpoint, all right, I want them to, I got to get the pre-call. I got to make sure there's some breakfast for them, because that stinks. It's going to take, 60 people. You figure a minute a test, that's an hour. And then
you have to wait for the results. Yeah, that's actually really. And if you're trying to stick to a 12-hour day, you've done lost an hour plus every day.
Right.
Then.
And, we got good at it, where we were able to get people moved through, in 30 minutes. And that's, 2 nurses, you're going in the tube, get to set, but having to just be really realistic about, all right, if first shot is going to be at 8, then we need to back that up to accommodate for our testing time, because this is important. It's an important thing to be doing, because, being a super spreader event is not an option.
So you don't want your film in the news for the wrong reason.
Right. Absolutely.
It's funny. I have such COVID test PTSD that, like, when you started saying, and you swipe to swipe, and my nose is literally tingling right now. I don't like it. I want to stop.
Well, our nurses came up with something great, because what you don't need to, like, tickle your brain. What they want you to do is bring the mucus down. So they would have us blow our nose, and then they would have to go up the scar. Or for people who were weird about the nose, you could go in the back of the throat. But, that was the other thing too, is it was so valuable having NPs on our set. If you can have a nurse practitioner on your set, do it. Set medics, really trained CCOs, those kind of medical people, they were important before, but they're more important than ever.
Ebony, so you obviously did a much smaller version of of this kind of shoot. Were you guys able to get away with not having daily tests and all of that?
We were able to get away from not having daily tests, but our lead actress, a family member of hers that she stays with has an autoimmune disease. And so we had to be very conscientious of making sure that everyone she was in a bubble. Everyone that was around her, of course, was tested, that was on set. But we had real conversations and letting people know that everyone is going to different households where people have real needs. And it's important that we all protect each other. And so I think like having those conversations up front, although it was a smaller set, let people know that what was expected, and also that we're in this together, because God forbid if, her family gets sick, nobody wants that on their heart. So yeah.
Right. For sure. All right. If anybody comes along and you guys have more COVID questions in the audience and how to handle it, anything specific, please put it in the box. But I'm like, let's think about, our COVID's going to be with us for a while. We're probably going to be dealing with this for a while until we can get everybody vaccinated. So until then, if that will ever happen, I think we just got to kind of be positive and just figure out ways to work. We got to be working. So I'd love to talk sort of just in general film stuff. Let's talk about life lessons and let's talk about moving forward. So just for instance, a question that I think would be fun for everybody to answer is, what is one of your favorite moments from this past year on set? Do you have a story that pops in mind, or just anything at all that comes to your mind right now? Whoever's first, go for it. You're like, nothing was fun. It all sucked.
And this is like kind of COVID related, but not. It's just, I'm like trying to think of some of the many things that we did. But we were trying to figure out like, okay, what if like the director gets COVID? How do we fix that? And my my DP came up with a Teradek, patched through box of some kind, so that if our director was stuck at home, we could pass through from the camera to the internet to him, so that we would still be able to keep rolling. And like, I was just tearing my hair out, and Dan just wanders and he's like, I got the shit box. We're all set. And I'm like, okay. It was like what you're saying, Ebony. Everybody gets what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So the whole team, it was my problem to solve, but somebody had the solution and was ready to jump in and just be like, I got this.
Man, that would be so frustrating as a director to be like trying to direct from home. Because you think about like, oh, great, I'll be in my PJs, kick back, let me know when you're ready. But no, man, I need to be in the action. That's another thing about COVID that's tough for me, because I'm always a director that's right there with my actors. I'm always like in their ear, like we're there. So how are you guys dealing? That's actually, I know we're back to the COVID questions, but I'm, like how, I don't know, I guess, is everybody just staying masked until the last second for actors? And like, I don't know. Whatever. Let's go back to
that part. Was a big struggle, like staying masked, because I'm from the South. We talk up close, up and personal with our hands, and it was just like giving folks distance and space, and still trying to reach them with that connectedness. I think that was something I had to push through on a constant basis.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people have talked about clear masks, because like we literally, like, think about it. How many times on set are you yelling across the room to your DP what you want, and then they're yelling back to you? You can't do that with masks. You're already yelling just to talk to somebody this far away from you. Okay. Anyway, back to good stories. Anybody else have something good that popped up from this past year? Something fun to share?
Well, if I'll share, just because it makes me feel really good. This particular story that happened when we shot Deja Vu in quarantine, because what happened was there is no team except for the people that are in my home, right? So I'm the filmmaker, and Alex is the DP, but also a filmmaker. So I wanted to, and I've been mentoring Alex for a long time. He's a great filmmaker. So I said, Alex, you get to direct. I will act. And if you guys know, I'm an actor. I was acting first and foremost for the last 30 years. You get to act. But not only did I get to act, my girlfriend at the time has a daughter who's now 13, but at the time she was 11. She's in the film, and she's actually the star of this film. And she was doing some stage work, and I started working with her to do some TV and some film stuff. Got her an agent and things. So, but this was her first film. So Alex is the director, DP. I'm DP, AD, and producer and everything else. This little beautiful girl, Olivia Whitney, is the lead with me, and her mom is my sound. Who's never done sound at all. So my lovely girlfriend is running sound, and for us to make a film as complicated, because it's sci-fi, a bit of drama, a bit of horror, but sci-fi in a pandemic world about the pandemic. And truth of the matter is, this film is one of the best things I've ever created as a producer
Aww,
and filmmaker.
I love that.
We had technically 4 people on set, and this little girl who had never known a 10-hour day or 12-hour day in her life on film set had to learn all of that in COVID.
Wow.
And the excitement to be an actor is one thing, but the professional aspect of being an actor was something that came through that process. And she handled it like gangbangers. And Alex was a trooper in COVID here in Barcelona, working with this new young girl. And it was just a really, really tremendous experience. And then to see the finished product, and it doesn't look like a student film. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying that in the sense of going, it doesn't look like a brand new, like a film, new filmmakers, was really, really, really terrific. And so I take a lot of pride in that when it comes to what COVID did and how we had to kind of find our way to not let that take away from our creativity.
I love that. Anybody else have anything that popped to mind about a good this past year?
I'm like, my hand is always like, I'm the good student, right? Pick me, pick me. In a similar vein, like I think my family didn't know what I did in New York. I mean, they had an idea of like, I'm doing stuff, I'm filmmaking, I'm, but they never really got to understand it until I was living in their home. And so I started working on a project with, I think about 10 or so actors based out of New York and LA, called the Homemade Sketch Show. And that was literally like, let's do a micro SNL, but on the internet. And we're all filming from home and doing these sketches. So I thought, oh, this is going to be really easy. But we were churning out episodes every week. And it was one of the hardest things because we are not, I was having to write the sketch, edit the sketch, cast it with my family. And let me just say, like, my dad needs to just be in everything I do from now on.
I love that.
But I think that it gave them a perspective that they would have never had if I just kept saying, "Oh, watch my film," or "Guess what? I'm going to be, flying across the country to do this thing." And they just had a small idea until I was like, "Hey, I want you to be part of this," and trying to direct them was a beautiful challenge because I felt like it really made the comedy richer. I mean, some of it was trash and had to just, it's deleted. But some of it was like, oh, this is a really beautiful, tender moment. And I get to keep this. And this is with my family. And I just felt like I got closer.
I love how everybody's finding their family is somehow involved this past year in ways that you would have never dreamed of. That is so cute.
Yeah. I have a story. I mean, it's COVID related. I actually ended up I was working 2 survival jobs in a restaurant and Starbucks while I was pursuing my acting career. And I moved to Los Angeles from Orange County, so not super far away. But at the beginning of 2020, in January, right before the pandemic happened. And then I have been wanting to obviously jump more into the industry and get more industry jobs so I could quit some of my day jobs. And then I ended up getting COVID in February. And I was on my last straw of working in a restaurant and I just wanted to leave so badly. And I interviewed for the production coordinating job for Blackmagic Collective. And I got symptoms for COVID on a Friday in February. And then I got tested on Saturday, got my results Sunday. I was positive. And then I started the production coordinating job remotely on Monday. And it's honestly been the best thing that's happened in my life thus far.
That's
Big
amazing.
COVID.
Yeah, and
COVID dreams.
That's why I was able
the
to.
hard way.
Right? Yeah. Hey, you win some. we pick our battles, I guess. Yeah. So I was able to then quit my restaurant job, and thankfully, it's been so great. Being in a restaurant can be very toxic. This is a very loving family environment that I love.
Nice.
She says that publicly, but
says the person who says I'm the other half of your brain.
it's not pleasant to be in here. I'm just saying. So we have some great questions coming in. Both Jenn and Emmanuel asked something similar. What are our thoughts on streaming new features versus big theater screenings? What's the future look like for distribution? And Emmanuel said, what's your thoughts on future streaming big features versus big theaters? So it has been definitely been an interesting change that's happened this year, from only being able to see things in theaters to then for a while we could see things in theaters and on, say, Disney Plus. And now they're back to really pushing just for theaters, except for like HBO Max. Like, how is everybody feeling about that, especially as filmmakers, when you're making movies to be seen on the big screen?
I think that COVID has really pushed what was inevitably going to happen anyway. People's choices and your ability to stream something from home, creating that flexibility was already happening. And just COVID's like, oh, hey, by the way, don't be in a crowd. There's a film coming out that we worked on up here called Black Friday with Bruce Campbell. And they are pretty much only playing it in one theater. And the rest of it is streaming. That's it. And it's a movie about zombies happening on Black Friday and monsters. It's really great. It's not highbrow entertainment by any means, but I think you're going to see a little bit more of what I'm hoping for is those art house theaters coming back. It's not going to be like, all right, I gotta go see whatever rinky-dink film is out. Oh no, we got to see like this picture on the screen, and maybe some of those smaller theaters will get a bump, is my hope. From over here, from films that are like we worked on a film a couple of years back called Coda, which won the Sundance top award. We're looking at the fact that it's probably not going to have a DVD release. It's only going to be on Apple streaming, and it's pretty much done. It's festival, it's festival and it's theater run. So, but we're not going to be able to own a DVD. We're just going to have to download it or stream it.
Yeah, with our feature Playing with Beethoven, it took us forever to finish because you know how it is with no money. You take forever to get it through post, and we had all of our red carpets. We finally got Dances with Films, which we'd been in Dances with Films every single year with a short project for like 7 years, I think. And we finally had our feature film. We were going to get to do all the press and the red carpets and all that stuff. And then COVID canceled us. So we literally, for the last year, our film basically played festivals and nobody saw it. So it's interesting that this Friday, it's going to be in some theaters, like you said, like, random cities. It's in some theaters, but really it's all about pushing the streaming. Everything we're doing right now, all of our marketing, we're like trying to get pre-sales for Apple. Like that's all we're pushing. We're not pushing theatrical at all. And matter of fact, we're paying for our own premiere in LA because we want to let the cast and crew be able to celebrate the long journey. But for me, I don't think this movie is a music movie. It needs to be on a big screen with Dolby surround sound. It just doesn't feel the same. And I haven't even gotten to experience that yet. So I'm really sad if we only get big tentpole movies like Marvel or whatever in theaters. That'd be sad.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Well, to bounce off that, I feel like the thing that I actually really appreciated coming back was drive-in movies.
That's true.
Screening at drive-in movies, because it gives an accessibility where you could literally drive your car up, or some places would just open up the parking lots and have it open air. And I felt like it was rethinking the way that we went to theater and how we socialized and how we did it safely. Because it's something that made me sad. For me, it's nostalgia. It's growing up. It's being able to see it. With my, whoever my folks or, high school.
The problem with drive-in theaters now, though, is when we were kids, at least when I was a kid, I don't know how old everybody else on here, but you would go pull up and you'd have the little big heavy silver box that you'd put on your car door.
Yeah.
Now you play it through your radio, and those of us with electric vehicles, it doesn't like it. It's just constantly like, turn your car off. So we literally went to one and then just never went to any because it was just too scary that we were going to kill our battery.
So you're going to have to get an old-fashioned radio, put some double A's in that shit, and then come on. I do part-time work in radio, and it was so funny. I was talking to some kids, and they were like, you know what would be really cool? If they had, like, you know, podcasts, if you took them and you made it so everybody could listen to it at once. Anyway, I'll share that with you.
That's hilarious.
Maurice, you were going to say something, I think?
Yeah, Jen, I wanted to bounce a little bit off of what you just said, especially about the tentpole world. So what's crazy is from the mind of a producer, not filmmaker, not artist, okay, not actor, from the mind of a producer. So I was just in LA, and I should have looked you guys up, and I'll do that next time. I was just in LA.
Dang it, Maurice! Get off this call. You're off.
I've been traveling so much over the past few months. It's been crazy, and it's all been business. And I've been all over the place. And in COVID world, traveling sucks too. And then I had my final stop before the holidays was LA, and I spent several days out there. And I have a first look deal with the studio, right? And when we talk about streaming as an independent filmmaker who is hoping to not always do independent films, right?
Right.
Also working with a studio, a major production company with studio heads who are only looking for tentpole theatrical release films. As an independent filmmaker, it's difficult to get distribution in general. Okay, regardless, and even in the streaming world now, because the streaming world has gone into, we're looking for the same things that you were looking for initially for theatrical release. We want name actors and directors and that kind of thing. So it makes it even more challenging for the independent filmmaker. So I'm having a sit down, heart to heart, grown up conversation with this company that I work with, and they're really great, and we've been connected for a very long time. But as I'm creating work and they're creating work, they're only looking at tentpoles because they know that that's where the theater is going. That's where the theatrical releases are going to be. And they're saying, we're struggling to figure out distribution for some of the stuff that you're doing, Mo, just on the aspect of, you know, budgets and names on a consistent basis. And so I go back and forth. Number one, I'm a theater junkie, like just from entertainment. I'm there, no joke, before COVID, I'm there 3-4 times a week. I'll watch anything in the theater. I'm a nuthead. I own 1,000 movies in the room next door. I am a junkie. So not having that was huge for me. And Alecia, you're right. Streaming services was going to happen anyway, but and I'm all good with it. But I'm the guy that wants to go to the theater. Okay? I don't want to see them disappear. I like having the options, but I'm never going to be the guy that goes, oh, I'll just catch it on Netflix or
right. Yeah.
Because I just want to be in the theater. But I'm with you, Jen. I don't want to just see Marvel in the theater. I want to see psychological thrillers and dramas in the theater. So I'm talking to these bigwigs, really important people who are really smart and know what they're doing, on how we can find that balance to make sure that independent filmmakers or something that's not, you know, the MCU universe can have a theatrical release.
There's nothing like a good cry by yourself in the dark in a theater.
I'll do it all day, every day if you let me. Like, I'm just that dude. So it's a balance, especially as a producer. It's like, how do I make sure I'm creating content that I can still hope to push for theatrical release, as opposed to just settling down to just kind of deal with whatever I have left over in the streaming world. Obviously, film festivals are really important, but as you say, it's film festivals are always challenging anyway. And then who gets to see them and make films so people can see them and people can be connected to them. And so that becomes a difficult challenge. I see the theaters coming back for sure, certainly when it comes to big budgeted projects, but I do feel that there is, whether it's the independent art house films, I do think that there's room still for smaller budgeted dramatic films, comedies, that allows us to go to the theater and want to watch those and still have people have the option to stay home.
Well, especially like the thing is, like, I think people don't even like comedies, especially movies are not as funny at home by yourself as they are in a group of people laughing.
Agreed.
So like, I really don't want to see theaters go by. We have so many questions coming in. I love this.
Yeah.
So, Sarah says we need Bluetooth drive-in speakers. Yes, that's exactly.
Touche.
Okay, let's go down this list here.
There.
Gilberto, as actors, directors, and movie producers, you need to continue training. How do you see training/acting classes to change during COVID? Kayla can probably talk to that because she's in an acting class twice a month.
Yeah. Actually, 4 times a month usually whenever I'm in the blocks. Yeah. So I was doing during COVID. Right when COVID happened, I was in the middle of a showcase class, actually. And so we were supposed to have a bunch of casting directors, agents, managers, just a bunch of people in the industry come in person and watch us do like a showcase. And obviously, because COVID happened, that had to be rethought because we couldn't have people come in person. So in a way, it was better because we filmed ourselves and then we sent it out digitally so people could watch it whenever they wanted to on their own time, and they didn't have to send. It would also reach more people, like more important people, because they don't have to make time to actually drive to the place. They might not instead send an agent, they'll watch it themselves, or like an assistant or something like that. So we were able to reach more people. But obviously you don't get to meet them in person. Talk
about acting class though, like, obviously classes are smaller. They have to be.
Right, yeah.
People are masking and then just unmasking, I'm assuming, for scenes.
Well,
like
for then COVID, when COVID was going more in, then we started doing classes through Zoom. And that was definitely different because you don't have that in-person connection with your scene partner, and you might have some technical difficulties with lagging and internet going out. So
I do not like directing over Zoom. I am not a fan at all.
It's very interesting, but then also the way that our teachers would get through to us in that realm and get us to get past that point is you have to be able to connect with somebody who may not be there. Like, let's say they showed an example of behind the scenes Game of Thrones picture, and it was of Emilia Clarke petting what was her dragon, but it was literally just like a green pillow, and like having to connect with that and have all of that emotion still. And it's like, obviously it's not a physical thing that you can see, but you have to imagine it and you have to still be in that connection. So it's been different. And now that we are starting to do in-person-ish, we're in hybrid classes. So some people are Zooming in and some people are in person. If you're in person, you have to be vaccinated. And if you're comfortable removing your mask, then we have our masks removed because everybody's vaccinated. And then we do our scenes and stuff. And sometimes we pair with a person that's on Zoom because we have a monitor that's constantly running, as well as the video camera, and you're paired with them. And then, or sometimes we have it paired with each other in person or with each other on Zoom. It's very interesting right now. It's working. We have had technical difficulties because we like to watch our tapes back in class. And every single time we've had a class, there have been something where something goes wrong when it's recording and the sound doesn't work for either the Zoom people or the sound doesn't work for us.
Technology.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to point out as far as actors go, and even on the casting side, is that actors for the most part are only self-taping now. They are not being called in to audition at all. Casting directors are seeing, what I've been told by casting director friends we talk with, they're seeing an insane amount more of people than they ever would have saw in person, which could be good for actors. But for actors now, you have less time to impress because you're not in the room. So if your tape doesn't start right off with like good sound, good lighting, if you're not nailing those moments right at the beginning, you're getting turned off. Like, so because they're trying to get through so many. So I think it's like,
even we had a class with the emerging actors. We had two casting directors come in and direct us on our self-tape. So we all self-taped at home and then we watched it in class, and they gave us notes, both technical and on our acting. And something that was super interesting that one of the casting directors we had say was, she was like, make sure that there's nothing distracting because we will just fixate on that thing. She said that there was this little tiny logo on his shirt, the actor's shirt, and she was just trying to figure out what it said the entire time. She wasn't even like listening to what his acting was. She was like, what's on his shirt? What does it say? Like, what is that? So,
And I want to move on from this so we can get to other questions, but just a quick note on the director side. I know that people who are teaching directors are still, for the most part, still over online. So even if they can get to set to do some kind of project for class, it's almost all online. And I just cannot wrap my brain around learning to direct from a seated position. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, and next up is Emmanuel. He says, have you ever had to handle a difficult conflict in your career? Never. It's so easy.
Oh my God.
Ebony, does anything come to mind for you right off the top? Sometimes it's just, the problem is there's so many of these that you're like, what do I?
What area? I think the most, okay. So recently I applied for a grant. And it was their first year doing it. And it was kind of a lofty grant. I needed it. It was $10K. When I checked everything, it said that I went to the final stage. But in actuality, I did not win the grant. It was very weird. The language was weird. So I think, that was some shit that just it stung. It stung a whole bunch. But it taught me something that we, go through all the time, which is to keep rocking. I had to then do the crowdfunding thing for post-production. And then I sent an email back telling them they need to change their language. It's not going to help other people. Yeah.
Tanya, anything coming to mind besides, working with your family?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a laundry list, but I one project that was my baby project, Veronica, which when we went into filming, we had a very ambitious, we're going to film it all in one day. And it turned into a 14-hour day for us because I was also doing multiple roles and acting in it. And after we were done, we thought, our other producer who was supposed to be handling the SAG paperwork finished everything. And it was not the case. So we got basically slammed by SAG because paperwork was never turned in. It was never done. And even though it was done for me, it was not done for the rest of the cast. And we had to think about 15 actors on there. So we had to do something. We called in angels. SAG was very forgiving for some reason. And they allowed us, but we had basically a week to go ahead and get everything we needed to do, signatures and all this. So we had to hunt everybody down. And I was, both me and the director were on, phone calls and emails day in and day out to try to get this in because it was going to be screening in one of our first festivals. And if we didn't get this, we're going to be fined.
So how did you deal with that producer? Did you call them out on it?
Yeah.
Do you still work with them?
I didn't call him out. So the producer was also brought in by the director and they were friends. So I was like, I'm not going to handle this. You're going to handle this. So she did handle it. And they are now speaking. They were probably not speaking for a moment, but ultimately we realized, okay, this was our big lesson. Get it all done. Make sure that we are also the eyes and ears and every part of this wheel if we're working in this capacity.
So let's talk about conflict as far as maybe crew personalities. I know often as directors, we might butt heads with our producers or our DPs, or maybe there's someone on the crew who just has a bad attitude or isn't doing their job, like the producer you talked about. How do you guys handle conflict when you're on set and you have to keep moving and it's not a fireable offense? Alecia, I'm assuming you have stories. Maurice has got stories.
This is all damn day. No, no, it's often as a UPM, I'm like HR. There really should be HR on film sets, but it's sometimes I do a lot of mentoring of women, obviously young women coming up, and sometimes there's a lot of they're frantic because they feel like they did something wrong, and you got to pull somebody aside and say, you're doing what you want. Don't let that piece of metal come between you and your job and your happiness. Or I'm seeing all right, that dude over there is not keeping his mask on. The CCO's asked him 8 times. I got to go over and say something. people just, you know, it's you gotta kind of try to meet people where they are and find out what it is. And you know, at the end of the day, this is a job. You know, some of us, it's a lot, you know, depending on your scale, you're like, okay, I'm here for my passion project. And like when I was doing my passion project in March, where I was paying everybody and basically, here's $20 for hanging out with me for the weekend. So, treat those people one way, and then when I'm, you know, paying a union rate on a $1 million+ feature, you're like, listen, I hired you to do this job and you're not. So let's talk about how we get you there. You know, and often I say to directors, we don't fire people, we work with them until we have to fire them. You know, if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, there's something to solve. Right. And if they're just assholes and you need to fire them, I honestly, I say I like to fire people, and I'll tell you why. I like to be able to, and you know, firing somebody is an art. It's hard. And if you can make that person walk away and feel heard, because first you got to be able to hear them. And second, you got to be able to get them to a place where they feel that they have learned something at the end, and then say, okay, I want you to take this. I want you to redo your resume, and I want you to talk to me in a week. You know, there's always a chance there to grow. And, you know, I'm not going to just fire somebody and have them walk away feeling like crap. There's a person behind the issue. So, you know, this is like literally my all day. Just solve the conflict.
Can I say something?
As long as it's quick, because we're almost out of time, and I want to get to everybody else's questions. I
just feel like that's where change happens. I think that you just pointed out, like, instead of it just being like, let's cut you off and then move forward, you're actually going ahead and say, here's your ticket to learn, and let's see if we can work with you. And if not, then you move on. And I think that's beautiful.
I love that.
Hear it, but you're gonna offer it.
Okay, so this is a fun one for this particular panel. Beyond Los Angeles, from Camoria. Where is the most exciting city to film in, and why? Will there be opportunities down the road in your city? P.S. We know Ben Affleck is in Austin. Maurice, since I didn't let you talk on the last one, please go first on this one.
Well, I'm always going to say Austin, period. And I've lived in LA, and I've worked in New York, and all over the place, and I love all of those places. But in Atlanta and Ebony, I would love to connect with you.
For sure.
We definitely need to connect. We have connections with my family in North Carolina, so we can get by. I can get down there. Austin is just a tremendous city, and I know that it's Texas, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but Austin is different. Like don't let the state of Texas make you think differently about Austin. Okay, Austin is its own world in itself, especially in the film industry. I know, and it is just. Number one, it's an exciting city, which is why all these other people are coming in, right? All these other corporate companies that are coming in. The way that the city is growing, but the landscape of so many options of where you can film, how you can film, what you can get here, the relationships and how cool the people are, and the types of locations I've been able to get, and the people I've been able to work with, and the crews that are here, and you know, whatever your budgets are, it is so accessible to work here in Austin. And yes, Robert Rodriguez is here, and Spiderwood Studios is here, and yes, they're doing. I think it's called Hypnotic. It's the Robert Rodriguez film. And Walker, Texas Rangers here. And I think Fear is leaving, but they've been here for 8 years. And so there's so many reasons to be here. And Motivate Pictures is here. I'm just telling you guys, you got to come. It's really cool. So the city is just lovely. The restaurants are great. Austin is amazing. The film festival, South by Southwest, Austin Film Festival. Austin Under the Stars, like there's so many film festivals here. So as far as the industry goes, and artists and creators, and I actually have an acting studio as well. So we're really turning out talent as well, so they don't have to leave the city and work here. I can produce movies. I can work with actors and produce movies and put them in those films. It's a pretty exciting city. And that's why I left LA to come back to Austin. Not that I didn't want to continue to work in LA, but everything that I wanted to do and can do with the relationships I have in LA, I can do here in Austin a little cheaper, and I have a little bit more control and can build and grow here. So I'm going to push Austin all day, every day.
If the city of Austin isn't paying you for your promotion, because I'm buying my plane ticket.
I need to talk to the mayor. I need to talk to the mayor because I may be able to get a sponsorship.
Hey, Yeah.
I mean, Ebony, you probably have a lot to say about Atlanta too. I mean, Atlanta's become the biggest film city probably in the country at this point. Are you finding as an indie filmmaker, there's still opportunities for you there, or are you still kind of struggling to make your own stuff?
It's still a struggle, just to be very transparent. It's still a struggle because a lot of the work that comes to Atlanta still comes through LA. And so if you're not like below the line, you're not necessarily working above the line unless you've already been plugged in. So we still have work on that forefront of really making place for directors, writers, producers, folks who are actually able to leverage their some of their muscle and not just necessarily be supportive.
Yeah.
Projects.
But I will say, if you're below the line, man, I have friends who left here, like a sound mixer, anybody, like just they get there and they're just working big shows.
And we got the best hot wings. I don't think
we're almost out of time, but I don't know if Alecia or Tanya, you guys want to make any ploys for why your city's the best?
I mean, come on, New York. I'm in the Bronx, so it's in some ways it's like I can literally roll outside and just start filming, and and every landscape is iconic. However, I have cheated on New York quite a bit with Atlanta. 2 of my shorts was Atlanta because I have folks down there, and it's like, oh, this is cheaper, this is fun, and yes, on the hot wings.
Well, I'm gonna say I got 6 states of opportunity up here in New England for you. Okay, I got tax incentives. I'm in proximity to New York. Okay, I see you, girl. Yeah, we have. But I will say, same as Ebony, we've got like, if you're below the line, great. I've wiggled my way above the line. It's taken some time, but it happens here. A lot is happening here. I think we're gonna have. There's a lot of wonderful stuff. Listen, we got Hocus Pocus filming in Rhode Island right now. Just saying, we've got. I mean, I could list, but Dexter's was filming here, and that's airing now. Okay, lots of great stuff to look for. But really, what we're talking about is a little East Coast love. New York, but I want to make films with all of you. You're all
same.
So
yes.
Here chatting with you.
Definitely.
As someone who films, I've been filming in LA for 2 decades now. I will say that I do think every other film city, including New York City, I filmed in New York City Times Square with next to cops. They didn't even blink an eye. I think every other city is more film friendly, more affordable, and almost has better backdrops. Like, that's just wherever you film is just gorgeous in some way. LA is kind of like meh. But I love my sunshine, so I just cannot get myself to leave. I've tried. I can't.
And before we go, I just want to say congratulations on playing with Beethoven and have
yes,
congratulations this weekend. Like, really have some major success. That's a really big deal. So congratulations.
It was a very long road, as you guys know. So like, I literally been saying this. I'm like, because we launched Friday, our premiere is Sunday in LA. I was like, on Monday, nobody better call me. Nobody better talk to me. I'm gonna be on a couch crying, emotional, like it's over, tears. Thank God, watching TV. And then Tuesday, I'm like, okay, what's next? Because we're gluttons for punishment. Thank you guys so much for being here. There was so many questions in the audience. We're sorry we didn't get to all of them, but by all means, reach out to the filmmakers with your questions directly. All of their social ats are on the screen right there. And we love them dearly. So Ebony, Tanya, Alecia, Maurice, have an amazing holiday. And then we'll see you next year on some kind of fun panel. So
all you guys.
Be awesome.
Yes,
Bye. Thank you guys so much.
Everybody else stick around because we're going to announce a winner from those of you who are here. So before I get to that though, while Kayla does her thing, tabulates who the winner is. She does a random drawing weird thing she does. I want to remind you to like and follow us on our socials. We have a private Facebook group that we're really trying to grow so it can be a community like this where we all talk and ask questions of each other, and but online and all the time. Then we also have our Facebook page and our Instagram and all that you can follow to keep up with all of everything that's going on. But the best way to keep up is through our newsletter, which comes out once a month, and it tells you when the initiative applications go live. It tells you what events are coming up and everything in between. So just go to blackmagiccollective.com and you can sign up and be a part of that. We want to thank again our sponsor, Blackmagic Design. They gave us all kinds of gear to give away to our Blackmagic Collective filmmakers this past year. They're supporting our initiatives, but helping get gear out to them for their films. So we can't be thankful enough for all they do for filmmakers. And for the giveaway they are going to do right now. Are you ready, Kayla?
I'm
You wanna
so
drum roll?
ready. I was born ready. Yes, please. And the winner of the seat of Da Vinci Resolve Studio for our Film City end of the year panel is Jer Skinder. I hope I said that correctly.
Jer, woohoo! Thank you for being a vocal
Awesome.
communicator and sharing Jer with us on this. And Kayla will be in touch with you on how to get your freebie studio seat.
Yeah.
That's it for the year, guys. Enjoy your time off, or if you're like me, there's no time off, but you know, you keep creating. Enjoy your continuing to create, but maybe with less people bothering you during the month. If you're out filming in December, be safe, but have fun, have a blast, make beautiful art. And we really just want to thank you for a great year, for always being here and being here with us and being positive and fun and not, you know, like, I don't know. I just like our community is just one of the most awesome film communities out there. So
I think it's incredible. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your 2021. Bye.